So look, like the one thing, obviously last night they lost 8-2 to the Ottawa Senators. All
Hate
the
to be
credit goes
them.
to Ottawa though, because they are winners of 5 of their last 6. So they
Mhm.
also have been rolling. But the one thing that I thought of, and the one thing that was very telling to me yesterday, and so here's my thought. I think the Florida Panthers need to send Spencer Knight down to the AHL. It's not based on just this last start that he had where he was pumped for 8 goals. But if you look at his starts in November, he started 7 games in the month of November. And in 4 of those 7 games, he gave up 3 or more goals. He's currently 6-6, like 6-4-2, whatever. He's lost 6 games. That's all I really care about. Uh, and then in these 2 games in December, he gave up 4 goals to St. Louis, and then he gave up 8 goals to Ottawa. So right now, his goals against skyrocketed to 3.42. His save percentage is now sub 900. And the one telling thing that I noticed that was very quiet is that the Florida Panthers picked up Jonas Johansson off of waivers, who was the Colorado Avalanche goalie. So that makes me feel like they're sending Spencer Knight down, and I think it's the best thing for him. It's not a knock on him, but the one complaint I do have with Florida is that I think they played him way too many games to start the season. Like you have Sergei Bobrovsky making $10 million. He's 12-2 right now. The fact that he's played just as many games basically as Spencer Knight, it shouldn't be like that. Spencer Knight's a backup. He's a rookie. He should be playing 12 games throughout an entire season. I think it just wasn't the right move. And if you are playing him this amount of games, I think it's better suited for the AHL because he did just come from Boston College and straight to Florida, given their goalie situation at that time. So I wouldn't be shocked within the next couple of days if we hear that Spencer Knight gets sent down to the AHL. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's there for an entire month. I I don't think I think they can win that division. It's Spencer Knight's hurting more than helping, and Sergei Bobrovsky needs to be playing. Unless he's hurt, he needs to be playing almost every night. So that was my little spiel. I love him. I love Spencer Knight. I don't think the time is now. I think the time is for him to be in the AHL because of that waiver move that really got me thinking that they're definitely contemplating moving him down.
And again,
Yeah.
this is not a knock. And sorry to interrupt, Donald, but this is not a knock on Spencer Knight. He's a terrific goaltender. They played him, and he played extremely well. Like you can't blame the Panthers for being in the situation. And I wouldn't say leaving him out to dry, but giving him even more opportunities to strive. Because last season, I think he started 6-0 or something like that. He had a terrific start in his career, nonetheless. And even in the playoffs, he had the battle of Tampa Bay Lightning. So you're kind of throwing him right to the wolves very quickly, making him learn very quickly that you can make it in this league. You're a great player, and you know how to get it done. So I wouldn't say they rushed him too much considering he had so much skill coming in, but you're very in the right opportunity. You're in the right way to send them down and get some conditioning going because he's still young and he's proven that he's played in this league. Let's just see if you can make it a little bit more, improve yourself, see if we can get
Yeah.
a better tandem going because personally, and I think you're trying to alliterate to this as well. I mean, this tandem isn't really it. If you're going to be paying a goaltender like Sergei Bobrovsky that much money, you're going to have to play him for that much dollars because he's a terrific goaltender. The record speaks volumes on his part and on the Florida Panthers part, nonetheless. But yeah, I don't think it's Spencer Knight's time right now. He asked me last year and last summer. I think he's one of the better goaltenders that we've seen come up in recent years. But
I just
no,
don't think they should be playing him
no,
as
as
often
much.
as they
I agree.
are. Like I get that he's a great talent, but that month of November was not good. And it also just looks like the Panthers don't play as confident. Like if you notice those 3 come from behind victories, those are with Sergei Bobrovsky in net.
Mhm.
So it's just a little bit telling to me that the Florida Panthers aren't as confident. And also Spencer Knight gave up stupid goals last night. Like it was a really bad game, like blunder behind the net, and then just saves that or shots that should have been saves.
Yeah, I totally agree. Dom, do you have anything to add, Jared? It's pretty open
Um,
topic.
I saw what's his name was Anton Khudobin was on waivers, which was interesting why they didn't pick
That
him
was
up.
very interesting.
Because they would have to take his contract.
Can they not afford it?
It's not that they can't afford it, it's just that it's too large. That the issues with teams
Maybe
wanting to
yeah.
pick him up is it's similar to Evander Kane with San Jose. He's just making
Minus
I think there's other
being a
issues
total
with
no,
that.
no, no,
asshole.
but I guarantee
Strictly
you,
money
like
based.
No, but still, I think a team like if you're in the gutter, what's the point of not
Yeah.
he could still do stuff for you. It's just the fact that he's making $7 million
Oh
was
yeah.
the main concern.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Did he not cash in? I could be complete lost, but did he cash in right after he made it to the finals and sign a contract? Ooh.
He signed 7 years, 49 million with the Sharks.
Wait, we're talking about two different players, bro.
Who are you? I'm sorry, who are you talking about?
Khudobin.
Oh, you're talking about Hudobin.
Ooh,
Oh, my
I was
bad.
talking about Khudobin as well.
Sorry.
Yeah, if
sorry.
Khudobin
I thought you were
fucking
talking
7
about.
mil.
I thought you were talking about Evander Kane for a second.
No. But I think Khudobin did because he was like a brick wall with
he
him
was
and
terrific, man.
Joel Kiviranta.
Mm-hmm.
Carried the shit out of that team. He was really good. He was really good. But now
I don't know. That's what I was just thinking about last night and this morning was after the Johansson thing. I'm just wondering what's going on with Florida.
It's not that good either. Though.
I was gonna say,
but
here's my way
to
to push a goaltender.
No. But here's my thing though, because I was talking about my dad, talking about this with my dad this morning as well. Was look, although Johansson isn't as great or even maybe worse than Spencer Knight, he has NHL experience. He's still very capable of winning you a game. And if you view him as a little bit better or even a little bit worse than Spencer Knight, then what's the point of keeping Spencer Knight, who's a lot younger and has a lot more potential?
He's a more valuable chip in your arsenal.
Yeah, definitely. He's just too young to be in the NHL right now. And the way Bobrovsky's rolling, the only time you'll play Johansson is on the second night of a back-to-back.
I think it's very fair. It's actually not something I thought about at all. We were talking in our group chat a lot about the Panthers last night, and Evan said he had this big take. Obviously, it's that, but that isn't even something that crossed my mind. But I think it's a very interesting take because, as you mentioned, something that really flew under the radar was them claiming Jonas Johansson off waivers. I think you might definitely be onto something there because why else would they claim another goalie if they don't have plans to send Knight down? I think it's interesting. Again, I'm a Leafs fan. I mainly watch the Leafs. I haven't caught very many Florida Panthers games. But obviously, looking purely at numbers, Spencer Knight hasn't been good enough. Of course, there's a ton of potential there. Why keep him in a situation where he's struggling, where he's going to ruin his confidence? So I think, if they did, of course, they went out and claimed another goalie. So I think, you're probably on something. That probably is the plan there, to send him down, let him pick it up with they're in Springfield. Yeah.
Springfield Thunderbirds.
Yeah. Okay. So let him gain confidence with them. I think that you're probably on something. They are a good team. I actually do have a little bit of concerns with the Florida Panthers. They're still a great team. They're going to be amazing in the regular season. But we were actually discussing something which I
want to bring that up. I want to bring it up.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Can we? Because I want to fucking grill the shit out of you pissheads.
Okay.
Bring it up.
We might as well transfer there. I think Florida's an unbelievable offensive.
Introduce it.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay.
Posting skills are coming back into play.
I don't know if you were. I don't know if you were introducing it or just talking about your.
We're so foreign to Jared's style.
No,
this is anomaly.
Okay. How we're gonna do this? Okay, so we were talking a lot about the Florida Panthers. There's issues. Obviously, they just lost 8-2 to the Ottawa Senators, which Ottawa is very hot right now. They're finding ways to beat a lot of good teams. They've taken out a lot of strong teams in the past few games. But whatever, there's clearly the way that Florida has played lately, despite them still being near the top of league standings, they're getting wins. The way they're playing, they're having to claw back from a lot of late deficits, which, it's working and they're ending up with a lot of wins. There is definitely some concerns there. And where we're going to go with this is the fact that right now, how the playoff picture is setting up in the Atlantic Division is the Leafs likely may end up having to face one of the Florida Panthers or the Tampa Bay Lightning. So a discussion that we were having in our Leafs Line podcast group chat, our very confidential group chat, is how would the Leafs fare against these guys? And one of my points that I'm bringing up is I'm personally not that scared of the Florida Panthers, actually. I don't think they're a very strong defensive team. And that's coming from a Leafs fan who I know a team that's very good offensively and not good defensively. And that's what Florida kind of screams to me right now. I think a series against the Panthers, it would be very offense heavy, which isn't really something the Leafs have had to fight against. I mean, the Leafs series in the past few years, it's been series against Boston, it's been series against Columbus, and series against Montreal, where they're very defensive minded. I think a series against the Florida Panthers is something that, sure, we don't know how it would go. It would be a tough series. I think it would probably go 6 or 7, but I'd actually take Toronto there purely because I think Florida is not a strong team defensively, and they kind of are showing that in the past few games. So, I mean, the question, I guess, is what are your guys' thoughts on that? If the Leafs do have to play one of the Panthers or the Lightning, how do you think the Leafs would fare? So we'll go to Evan here. Evan has the
Evan, rip us to shreds.
Rip us to shreds,
Well,
man.
look,
I didn't even say anything.
I don't know. Like when you were talking about the Leafs would mop the floor with them. Well, first of all, the Leafs got their shit mopped last. Like I don't think you could like really say
the Panthers.
Well, no, I'm saying I don't know if you could really say that the Leafs would mop the floor with them because, and I think like I understand.
Go on, talk about the playoff struggles. Go on.
No, I understand. The Panthers have also faced the Tampa Bay Lightning in the last 2 years in the first round that they made the playoffs. So, and they ended up taking it to 6 games, but it was also a very competitive 6 games. It's not like the Florida Panthers were ever like, I think they had one game where it was 5-4, but they weren't losing by egregious amounts. They were like 1 or 2 goal games against a team that ended up winning back-to-back cups. So they've had tough matchups. And I know this sounds stupid, but just knowing the Leafs blunders, I have a feeling this is just going somewhere like down south. But the one thing that I want to say, although you're talking about defensively, offensively, Huberdeau and Barkov, they do step up in the playoffs. And Barkov is easily one of the top 3 defensive centers in the NHL. I don't know if you could say Bergeron as 1, Barkov as number 2. I don't know.
Chandler Stevenson.
You're a Vegas fan, Mark Stone.
Well, Mark Stone's a right winger.
Right,
he's a right winger. That's why I was thinking.
Yeah, that.
But Barkov is one of the best defensive forwards in the NHL. Jonathan Huberdeau steps up come playoff time. Like these guys know how to play in the playoffs. In the way that Sergei Bobrovsky's playing, I really like Florida's chances. And just knowing the way the Leafs are in the playoffs, I have a feeling it's going to end poorly. Just also given the fact that Marner and Matthews don't step up in the playoffs. Nylander does. Nylander's fucking incredible in the playoffs. Like he wakes up from his pregame nap come playoff time. But I don't know about Matthews and Marner. In that 7-game series last year, Matthews had 1 goal in 7 games. And I don't know how many points Marner had, but I never saw his name on the score sheet. Okay, 4. Thank you. Not a lot. But anyway, I don't know. And when you're talking about defense, I think the one concern, and that we've been talking about this last month, is problems with the Leafs. And they don't have a comfortable 6 either that they could roll out against a team. Like they have so many questions surrounding their second line. And I really like the defensive pairings in Florida. You have Uyghur and Ekblad. You have Radko Gudas there. I mean, like you have some talent there. I'm trying to think of
Gustav Forsling.
Forsling's there, and then who's the other guy?
Lundell's pretty good.
Lundell, yeah. I thought he would. Yeah,
he's
Lundell.
a forward, but yeah, he's good.
No, he's a
Anton Lundell.
He's a
center.
Yeah,
I thought he was a. Oh, I'm thinking of
Lindell.
Esa Liddell. Lindell.
Okay, I was thinking of maybe the guy in Dallas.
Dallas, yeah.
Too confusing there. But yeah, I like Florida overall. I think if they do take the Leafs, I think it will be very competitive though. But I think Florida just solely because I know that their top guys are there come playoff time. Although they might lose the games, they're there.
You said Florida knows how to play playoff hockey. What is playoff hocky to you?
Well, look,
to me, it ain't battle of attrition.
You lost me there.
Well, look, like I understand that they also haven't won a playoff series in a long time. Granted,
in almost a decade more than the Leafs.
Okay, but here's the thing, though: the Florida Panthers, for a majority of this last decade and a half, have been in rebuild mode where they have been at the bottom of the league. So it's not like they've really had the opportunities to be in the playoffs. The difference is the Leafs have been in the playoffs. And I knew like Florida for a long time hasn't, like they just haven't been there. But now that Barkov's developed, Huberdeau's developed, drafting Ekblad, signing Bobrovsky, like their time is now. And what I meant by playoff mode is that, look, they've had to go up against Tampa Bay, who has arguably the best offense, best defense, and best overall team. And I remember games, they were down 4-1 to Tampa in Tampa, and they came back and won 5-4 in overtime. There were games where they lost 3-2, but they were just such nail biter games that I feel like if that was any other team that Florida was playing against, it would be them winning 3-2. So I think it's just like unlucky of who they've had to face because they've ended up being the Stanley Cup champion. But I just think if the team was flipped, I think they would come out on top in those games.
I credit the Cats for coming back against the Lightning in almost every game they played. Personally, it was the best hockey I've ever watched, considering of how entertaining.
That's what I'm saying. It's like they have dogs. Like you guys are acting
they
like
do.
They got dogs on that team.
They don't got dogs that guard their house though. They're just going to bark at each other and eat each other up. Like,
but
that's
what
I'm saying.
Bichons that like those dogs. No, not.
Or the Leafs,
I don't think the Leafs
if the Panthers go down 4-1 against if the Panthers go down 4-1 against the Leafs, are you more in faith of the Leafs hanging on or the Panthers coming back?
Wait, if the Panthers go down 4-1,
like in a game?
Oh,
well, I mean, it's happened before, so I would say yes. I mean, it's happened. It happened to them on the road.
What I'm trying to piece together is what have the Leafs learned in playoff series prior compared to what the Panthers have learned in their lonesome series.
But what have the Leafs learned?
Well, they learned some things about shutting down defensively, getting a little bit more physical, which they've shown.
But wouldn't you have learned that? But wouldn't you have learned that against Boston?
We haven't really blown. We blew it like a 3-2, but that's normal. Blowing a 3-1, on the other hand, like you learn from that. But we blew a 3-2 against the team that we weren't favored against. We were the only series where we were the clear favorites was that Montreal series. That's the one you.
But that doesn't matter because they were still up 4-1 in games. Like I'm saying, like they've had.
Yeah, but that's a different team. That's a different team.
Oh, okay.
That was 2013. That was
okay. I didn't know like how far back you're going. But honestly, it's like I don't know. I would say
fun
yes.
Debate though. It is a fun.
I would say yes because I think the way Sergei Bobrovsky's playing. I also just think like the top to bottom of the Panthers is better than the top to bottom of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And when I mean top to bottom, I specifically mean their bottom six. Like that's what I'm really digging into. I think it is a lot better than the Leafs is. And it's also been a lot more consistent over the season. If you've noticed, like even in those games that they came back, those 3-game stretches, it was a lot of the bottom six contributing and kind of Huberdeau and Ekblad manning the way for those guys. They have Sam Reinhart, who I thought was an awesome pickup. Duclair, when he gets healthy again, is another great weapon to have who is not afraid to throw the body around. Sam Bennett is a dog who's not afraid to fight anyone. Like, I think they're very well constructed, and I really like where they're going.
One thing I'm going to say is I think a lot of your argument has to do with the fact that the Leafs ultimately collapsed last year. And I think a lot of your argument is very much, well, the forwards didn't show up in the Montreal series. We don't know. Like, obviously, the Leafs haven't had the chance to prove that wrong. So I understand why you have to bring that up.
I mean, like the playoffs in general. I mean, like the years that Matthews.
I'm not saying you're wrong for bringing that up because, of course, the Leafs haven't had the chance to prove that wrong. So obviously it's not playoff time yet this year, but I'm saying the way that the teams are playing right now this season, if our core guys can continue playing, like I don't think you could go into the series accounting for that Marner and Matthews are going to fall asleep again. Of course, that's what happened last year, but I think you have to kind of wipe the slate a little bit. It's a new season. Right now, the core guys are playing really well, and you have to go into a playoff prediction by saying, okay, we're going to take what's happening right now and put it into a playoff series. Who's doing better? And right now, I really like the way the Leafs are playing. And I do, as a Leafs fan, yes, you could call me biased. I have a lot of faith in the way we're playing. I know we know what can happen come playoff time. In the past, we have had the habit of our star guys kind of getting a bit shut down and going quiet. But you have to think that the way the Leafs are playing right now, I think you have to kind of factor it into a playoff series. And the way that the Leafs are looking right now, I would personally take them above the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, no, like one that I know I've been rebelling on, but that's like the whole thing that people were thinking about last year too, around November and December, was like if this Leafs team was in a 7-game series, they would win. My whole debate is that, I mean, it sucks. I mean, not sucks, but John Tortorella was there. Not John Tortorella. Joel Quenneville was there. he's a great coach. I think like had this Kyle Beach thing not happened, God forbid, that sucks that it happened. He was still the coach in Florida. My confidence would even be more in Florida's favor, just because ultimately I think it's the coach that wins you the series.
That's a fair point.
And I just think, and I'm not only basing it off the Montreal series, I'm just saying in general. And I'm also basing it off the Edmonton Oilers, who have a core five, you want to say, with Barry, Nurse, Nugent Hopkins, McDavid, and Draisaitl, and they got shut down last year. And it's not like Winnipeg's defense was anything to really gloss at. Like, it was just the fact that they, like, McDavid and Draisaitl can only do so much. Now it's Nylander who can only do so much. I mean, he had 5 goals in 7 games. Like, but if no one else is doing anything, I've just seen more consistency with Florida over these last years that they've been in the playoffs than Toronto.
And like, obviously, like I can't argue against that, because of course that's what we've seen. I'm just saying it's not entirely fair to, like, it's a new season. Obviously we are at the playoffs yet. We still have a few months to go. I think the way that the Leafs have played, I've seen signs that it looks like they've grown and learned from the things. We don't know. We aren't going to know until April. But at this current date, if you were to ask me if the Leafs look like a team that is playing playoff hockey, yes, in the past few weeks, it has gotten a little bit more questionable. I think we are falling into a few old habits. But as a season overall, I personally really like the way the Leafs are playing. And I think the main factor is the fact that Florida is a lot less of a shutdown team than a team like Columbus or Montreal. So for that reason, I personally, we don't know. It's all speculation. I would take the Leafs in that series. I think
how many games would you take it?
I think it still would go 6 or 7, probably game 7, to be honest. Like, they are a good team, but I think the main factor is that it would be a lot more of a high-flying offensive series, which isn't something we've ever seen out of the Leafs. The Leafs in our recent core, we've played Boston twice, which yes, they have their line, but overall, I still think they're a more they're gonna hit you, they're gonna wear you down. Like, they are, I'd call them a shutdown team. Columbus is purely a shutdown team. Like, they don't have offensive stars.
I think it was more John Tortorella. That's why I'm saying coaches win the series.
We got goalie, but no, I think Columbus plays a shutdown style. I think Boston plays a shutdown style, and I think Montreal plays a shutdown style. If we're playing the Florida Panthers, that's a matchup against a type of team that we've never seen before. And for that reason, we don't know this, it's all speculation. I have reason to believe that I think the Leafs would be able to thrive in a series like that. That's something we've never seen before. So there's no evidence that we'd collapse against a matchup such as that. Sure, they have defensive-minded forwards. Like, Barkov is a guy who would have to fight and try to shut down our superstars. I just think they're a lot less of a shutdown team than the teams we've had to face. And for that reason, I'm a lot more high on the Toronto Maple Leafs. It would be a good series. I'm not ripping on Florida, but I think there are a few holes in their game that personally, yes, you call me biased. As a Leafs fan, I think the Leafs would find a way to succeed in that situation.
Last thing, I would compare Florida to Washington, when they played the Capitals back in,
what was that? Rookie team, though.
No, that's what I was saying. I would compare that team to Florida, but the core wasn't the core at that time. But
I'm gonna say, if you want to bring that up, that they are a lot similar to Washington. Our best playoff series, I'd argue, is when we were all rookies. Like, the series that, yes, it only went to 6 as opposed to 7, but we were amazing in that series. We were just a young team that ultimately got beat out by the President's Trophy winners. If we had today's team against that Washington Capitals, I think that was a series where we looked like a great team. Like, Matthews played great in that series. So
yeah, that's what I was going to say. That, I think that's the best comparison, in terms of what those guys have experienced.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. I actually didn't think of that. And for that reason, I mean, if you look at how a young rookie Leafs team did against a team like that isn't as much of a shutdown style, we don't know. I happen to believe that the Leafs would be able to do well in that series. I'm not going to say, yeah, they dominate that series, they mop the floor with them, whatever. No, it would still be a series. Florida's not a slouch of a team. They're a great team. I'd have confidence in my Toronto Maple Leafs. And I know I like to say that all the time, but there's question marks when we face a shutdown team. I don't think there's that many question marks when we face a pure offensive team where the the goal of the series is just outscore them. There's not as much of a concern of these guys constantly wearing us down and hitting us by their style of play. And I think that happens to do with coaching. It happens to do with a lot of different factors. Overall, the question mark is just, would the Leafs stars be able to show up? If they do, I think in an offensive-minded series, I happen to believe an offensive-minded team like the Toronto Maple Leafs would be able to pull through. We don't know, but that's kind of my argument there.
Listen, this is what I'm going to do. We've been talking about the Florida Panthers Leafs series, hypothetical, and probably one of the best matchups I want to see in a playoff.
That's going to be so exciting.
It will be a great, exciting series.
I hope that happens. Honestly, I just want to
I do as well. But what I want to do right now is I want to put a pin in it because we've been spending we're running a bit short on time. I want to get to 2 segments here. One of them is the novel of the show, and I want to see how this goes. I think it's going to go extremely well, but I want to see how this goes. So I want to put a pin in this conversation. I want to regroup next week, and I want to discuss this well. I think Adamo's got a bit more opinions to say for himself. Evan, I think this is just a great conversation to have. I'm glad we brought it up yesterday. The group chat did not do justice considering we could not translate our words said in there to this performance we're putting on, and of course some words in there cannot be said on air, so let's keep it at that.